placed there from traumatic experiences, or it's just part of my makeup, a part of my DNA. I want to understand it so that I can learn how to. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. I am Aradia Arcanum. Welcome to Arcanum's Dark Light. This video is going to be a part 2. I felt like I want to go a little more in depth and kind of share a little bit more of the process as I go along when I work with demons. So here we are. And I want to talk about a couple of things first before I go into some more of the steps along the way in the process. And the first thing I want to talk about is the disclaimer that I would like to leave. And I don't know if calling it a disclaimer is the thing I want to call it, but is something that I mentioned that is a part of the process in the part 1 of these videos, where when you want to work with demons, you want to consider the state of your mind in making sure that it is well balanced. You want to alleviate as much anxiety, alleviate as much fear as you can when you want to work with demonic entities. So the next thing I would talk about, I would like to mention, is protection. And these things are what I've mentioned in the previous video. However, I want to just elaborate on mentioning that because it's important. So protection is something that I think you should think about doing on a consistent basis if this is the realm that you want to kind of dive into working with demons. So you want to fortify your fortress, your space, your home, and your sacred space. You want to do this on a consistent basis, and you want to source out the best means for you of protection. And that can look like a lesser balancing ritual of the pentagram. That could look like so many things. There's so many ways that you can protect yourself and your home and the people within. And my suggestion is do this in layers. So have several components of protection available, or so as something that you do. And you can even do something like the bonus ritual. I've done that, and I've even changed it around a bit to reflect so like I changed the word he and I changed the word God to reflect more the divine feminine aspect, and that was a very powerful ritual. But that's for another video at another time. Also, you want to have your spirit team. Again, this was something that I mentioned in a previous video. You want to have your spirit team as part of your protection, and just kind of commune with them and speak with them about your process that you want to embark on. And yeah, so that can look like your ancestors, spirits, your guides, the deities you work with, the demons you work with. So with that out of the way, let's begin. So I'm going to have timestamps because before I get into actual practical steps that I do in this process, one of the things that I want to really talk about is my process and my understanding and why I work with the demons that I work with. I don't want to say choose, because that implies that it's up to me, because sometimes, a demon or spirit may not want to work with you. My process for this, and I'll give you a little bit of my understanding, and I spoke about this also in a previous video, but I want to elaborate a little more. So in my opinion, you think about angels or demons. Demons are said to be fallen angels, the watchers. So they have an element of understanding of what this realm is about. They have a low level of experience within this realm. So when you want to seek help, for example, if you are needing help with your eyes, you're not going to go to a foot doctor. So this is just my thought process in the reason why I wanted to begin working with demons, because I feel like if I am going to understand the lower, the darker aspects of myself and my psyche, whether it came from being placed there from traumatic experiences or it's just a part of my makeup, a part of my DNA. I want to understand it so that I can learn how to acclimate it into the whole of who I am. Or if it's something that doesn't belong, heal it and work through it. And these are a lot of the reason why I went down this path because, and there's other reasons, but specifically when I say I'm going to work with a demon, this is initially what the reason is for. Upon building the relationship, it can turn into more. It can turn into, okay, this is a demon that I may work with periodically because this is who I resonate with. And yeah, so it just depends on what the relationship turns into. But initially, my thought process is I want to invoke this archetype because it may help me understand a part of myself that is on a darker level in the subconscious. And as I mentioned before, like a part of shadow work, right? In shadow work, you try to dig and go deep within to see what's there. So I feel like working with demons can help me with this. This has been the case in my experience. So I just wanted to share that in case someone else may resonate with that understanding. This is some of my reasons for working with demons. Now, I could go into some other reasons, and I mentioned some of that in one of my videos where I talk about my darkness and my experience in the underworld. But for this video, for the understanding of my process, I wanted to elaborate on that a little bit more. So now that we have that understanding, once I decided and done the research based on what part of myself I want to understand or work with or make stronger, heal, after deciding, okay, I want to invoke this demon, I then go into, as I mentioned, doing the research. So next I am choosing the items, the tools, and for this video I want to talk about Astaroth because Astaroth is someone that I am currently working with, revisiting because I've invoked Astaroth before. I felt drawn to work with her again, so I'm going to elaborate on my process with Astaroth as an example. So what I've decided, okay, this is who I'm going to work with. You do the research. I want to go into a little bit of first if anyone wants to work with Astaroth, and I'll share the reason why I felt drawn to Astaroth. So I'm going to read from the book is called The Goetia of Dr. Rudd. Within this book, it goes over the spirits of the Goetia, and Astaroth is the 29th spirit. Now, I would like to mention that I work with Astaroth, the female aspect, and the Goetia mentions Astaroth as in the male aspect. And I'll go into a little bit of that in a moment. But here we have Astaroth as a 29th spirit. He giveth true answers of things past, present, and to come, and can discover all secrets. He will discover and declare willingly how the spirits fell if desired, and the reason of his own fall. He can make men wonderfully knowing in all liberal sciences. I'm going to read you what is written in the complete book of Demonolatry about Astaroth, and here they speak about Astaroth in the female context, so the feminine aspect. So Astaroth, a Phoenician goddess of lust, seduction, same as Ishtar, turned male in Christian mythology. Now, I've worked with Ishtar, Astarte, all of these, and this was before I knew anything about Astaroth. I worked with Ishtar. So I understand now, this is, Venus is the rule of my chart, so I am naturally drawn and resonate with these spirits. Some of the attributes of Astaroth is Venus, the planet Venus, and the color green. So this is why I've chosen a green candle. So this is what you would do in that process, figure out all of those things. I use mostly a 7-day candle. Sometimes I use, like I have there on burning now, I'll use like a 3 or 4 day candle, but for this purpose, I wanted to use a 7-day candle. And sometimes I use candles that's not in glass, and I'll carve that information on the candle. Here, I don't know if you can see, I have Astaroth's sigil. I have the Astaroth's Enn on here as well. What would happen next after I have all of that done, after I went through that whole process? You want to think about timing, right? So the day for Astaroth is Friday. Now, with everything, you don't have to wait for that day. You can work with the planetary hour during a day that isn't Friday. But I like to try to stick to as much as I can that correlates with that spirit. So you do the timing and decide, okay, this is when I'm going to work with this demon and invoke that demon's energy, and you set that time up, and you want to take at least 7 days to do all of this in your preparation, because during that time what happens is you develop this link of connection. It is like you are in that moment reaching out to the spirit that you want to work with. So you're building that connection. So by the time that you do invoke them, it was already like just ready for that invocation to take place. So you set your timing, and you are upon the day that you are going to invoke the demon. And what I like to do is I set the tone. I'll get the incense that correlates with that demon. I usually use frankincense across the board, and I actually use sandalwood quite a bit, and I believe that is one of the incenses that is for Astaroth as well. But I light some candles, get the tone going, like the incense, and at that time, that's when I draw on the candle. And once that's done, I will chant the Enn for that demon this is a part of me calling. It's like telephone. I'm calling. This is the beginning of me reaching out to that demon. So for Astaroth, I'll call Tassa, Alora, Foreign, Astaroth. Tassa, Alora, Foreign, Astaroth. And I'll continue to do that until I feel right, until I feel ready. It's usually like maybe about 7 times. I love the number 7. I work with that number quite a bit. But I do it until I feel ready. And once I do that, at that moment, the invocation that I have put together is usually something of my making. Sometimes I've used invocations that have already been created by others, or sometimes I'll take parts of that. But at this time is when I will speak the invocation. I also would like to mention that this is an option to have a black mirror for visual, scrying into the mirror. Um, I usually don't use that at that time. I use those things for more when my focus is just divination, because I have no problem with imagining things and my visuals and things like that. But if you are someone that likes to work with the scrying surface, you can have a black obsidian crystal ball or just a regular crystal ball or a black mirror. And if that's what you're going to use at this time when you do the invocation, what I do is I speak that invocation, and I speak it almost like I'm chanting the N, because you want to speak it with like a proclamation, right? You want to speak it with authority and vibrate these words. So that is what I would do. And at that time, I would light the candle and kind of just sit there and let whatever happens. I sit and meditate and stare into the candle most of the time. And then I'll maybe sometimes continue to speak some things in veneration, or I will begin to say the N some more, but I kind of let it flow intuitively from that point after that. So once that is over, you can see here I've already used this candle. So what I would do is I would let it burn a little bit after, then put it out, and I would then wait until the next time that I want to invoke Astaroth. And it's usually like on the next Friday after that, or whenever I feel the need to do so. So I will continue to do that, and that's the process of the relationship being built. So, and when this candle has completely burned out, at that time I may decide to do another candle if I want to continue this relationship building. It just depends on what happens after that. So once the candle's out, what you want to do, because this is a big part of the process, you want to spend the next a few weeks, 4 to 6 weeks maybe, and really pay attention to the things, the synchronicities, things that are, you know, a little auspicious, the things that come up that remind you of something, or especially depending upon what it is that you maybe have set intentions for or asked during the invocation. You want to pay attention to all of these things and document them, even if you don't know if it connects with it, but it's something that is like a little weird to you. You want to write all of these things down, because it takes sometimes, it may, you know, that image of you seeing Astaroth may not show up at that time, but sometimes depending on your relationship, whether it's your first time, and depending on the circumstances, the demon may show itself later on down the line. And another thing that you could do when you are chanting the N or chanting the invocation, you don't have to visualize an image. And most times I try to stay away from what people have said they have seen, because I want to try to let it be as natural as possible. But what you can do is visualize the word Astaroth as you close your eyes, because that's another link to this archetype. So that is a bit more, a little deeper into the process. I wanted to share, you know, the actual things like that, and using sometimes the black mirror so that you can stare into it and maybe get your the demon may present itself that way. That is what I wanted to share with you today. A little more into the process, the part 2. Maybe part 3 will be me sharing experiences of things that have happened after I've called upon demons. I think many would appreciate hearing that. I know I would. I like to hear things like that, so I will most likely share that part of it. But this is the part of the process that I wanted to share with you in this video on today. So if you have any questions, let me know. Until the next video, I love you all, and into the shadows.